Hello everybody, my name is Kara, and today I'm here to talk about kind of a weird category of authors. I guess you could sort of call them auto-read authors, except that these are going to be some where I don't actually consistently enjoy their work. I have no idea how I'm going to title this video, but basically I'm going to be talking about some authors whose work I always keep up with. Like if I hear that they're releasing a new book, or in some cases that doesn't actually apply, but if I hear about a new book of theirs, I'm generally interested in reading it, and a lot of times I will end up reading it, but if I look at kind of the track record I've had with their books, it's not really that great. I guess another way to describe this is that I don't always enjoy these authors' books, like the stories overall, or even the characters, but there's something about the atmosphere, like the vibe I get from their work that I consistently enjoy and that I keep coming back to. Like their writing or their world building or just kind of the feeling I get, it makes it worth it for me to read a book of theirs, even if I sometimes really don't enjoy it. Like I still think the experience of reading that book was pleasant, even if the end result wasn't. This was the most confusing intro I've ever done. I'm sorry. Hopefully you'll kind of get the gist of what I'm talking about as I go through the examples. So the first one I want to talk about, and actually one of the kind of inspirations for this video, was Georgette Heyer. Now she was very prolific, and she wrote like Regency romance primarily, and some mysteries, like murder mysteries as well. And I've read 6 of her books so far. Now 2 of them I only gave 2 stars to. Those were Frederica and Lady of Quality, which I think are 2 of her most popular ones. Oops. And then 3 of them I gave 3 stars to, and those were These Old Shades, The Reluctant Widow, and False Colors. And there was only one of her books that I have given 5 stars to, and that is Cotillion, and I talk about that book all the time. It's one of my favorite novels, one of my favorite like comfort food type of books, has one of my favorite characters of all time, one of my favorite ships of all time, just all around it's a favorite book for me. So Georgette Heyer, like her writing style is so good, like it's so wry and funny, and she definitely knows her stuff, or I should say knew because she has unfortunately passed away, but I just really like all of the research that she puts into her writing and the way that she describes her settings and everything, and the humor is another thing I really love. It's sort of that dry kind of Jane Austen-esque, not quite, but this is the author who I feel has gotten closest to Jane Austen's humor for me in a lot of ways. Though I guess Susanna Clarke could kind of qualify as well, but I just really enjoy her writing style. So that means that even when I don't like her books, and as I told you, a couple of them I really didn't like, I gave 2 stars to, I still, like, I don't regret reading them necessarily, because it's like I always know that I'm going to at least enjoy the experience. She's a writer that feels very cozy to me, and I enjoy that even if I don't love the books. And I think part of the reason I don't love all of her work is I actually started out with Cotillion, which is one of her most unusual books as far as the character archetypes. Like, in general, Georgette Heyer's romantic heroes are kind of like the rake, or the reformed rake, which I really hate. I really tend not to enjoy that character type or that romantic interest, and I think that's probably part of the reason why I don't always get along with her books, is because a lot of times, like, those characters are the ones you're supposed to be rooting for, and I just can't do it. The next author I want to talk about is Michelle Moran. Now she primarily writes historical fiction that tends to have a very strong romantic element, but I wouldn't call it historical romance. I would definitely say that she writes historical fiction that has romance in it. And she was actually one of the first authors who I remember like seeking out as a historical fiction author, and that's kind of cool. I think that's one of the reasons I have sort of a soft spot for her. Now for Michelle Moran, I have only read 4 of her novels. One of them I gave 2 stars to, and that was The Second Empress. One of them I gave 3 stars to, and that was The Heretic Queen. And 2 of them I actually gave 3.5 stars to, Rebel Queen and Cleopatra's Daughter. So it's kind of funny that she's an auto-read author for me when I have never given one of her novels above 3.5 stars. There's just something about her premises and her historical periods that she focuses on that I tend to really enjoy. Like, she writes a lot about ancient Egypt, which I love, and she also writes about characters or historical figures that I tend to really enjoy or be interested in. So that's why I think she's kind of one of those authors where I don't always love everything she puts out, but if I hear about a new novel she has, chances are it's going to be a historical time period or a historical figure that I'm at least marginally interested in, so I will probably end up picking up more of her work. And finally, the last one I'm going to talk about is kind of, I think, an author that could end up not qualifying for this list anymore because I have a smaller sample size, and because I think I just happen to not start out with books of hers that tend to be the most popular. That was a very weird way to phrase that sentence, but let's just keep going. And that is Juliet Marillier. I've only read 3 of her novels so far, although I own several others, and I pretty much plan to read everything she's written. She's, again, one of those authors who, even if I don't like the story or the characters, I always love her world, and I always love her writing and the sense of magic. I just really click with her writing style, and I think that's something that keeps me coming back to her, even though some of these experiences were less than stellar. So this is kind of another case where I started off with a book I absolutely adored, and I'm kind of wondering if that set me up for disappointment with some of these other ones, but I first read Wildwood Dancing, which I gave 5 stars to. That's one of my favorite fairy tale retellings I have ever read. And then I read the sequel to that one, which was Sibel's Secret, and I gave that 1 star, and to date, that is one of my least favorite books I have read in my entire life. And actually, this is just a marker of how much I hated this book. I actually skim read the last, like, 60 or so pages maybe, and I never skim read. Like, even if I am despising a book, I never skim read. And this one I did because I just couldn't take it anymore. I had to know what happens, and true enough, it was like the thing that I was dreading happening, so I'm really glad I actually didn't waste my time reading that, the last chunk of that book. But yeah, so that's how much I hated Sibel's Secret. And then the most recent book I read of hers that actually ended up in my most disappointing reads of 2018 video was Heart's Blood. Now, I didn't hate this one, but I only liked it when I was expecting it to become a new favorite for me, because it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, it has Celtic influences, it's a lot of people's like favorite Beauty and the Beast retelling, and I just thought it was kind of okay. So again, I think Juliet Marillier is definitely going to become a real like favorite author for me. I think I've just happened to pick ones that I didn't connect with because I really do love her writing, and I have quite a few other books of hers on my TBR that I think are going to be much more up my alley, like much more successful for me. So we'll see how this works out. But I did want to include her on this list because as of right now, she's an author where I have had extremely mixed results with her books, from like between 1 star and 5 stars, but I do consider her kind of an auto-read author. Okay, everybody, so those are some authors that I just keep coming back to, even though based on my experience, maybe I shouldn't. But I do still enjoy reading their books, even if I don't end up loving the stories themselves. I hope this kind of made sense and that you guys found this a little bit interesting. I find things like these really fascinating. I would love to hear if you guys have any authors like this, or if you end up doing a video that's kind of along this theme, please let me know. I would love to watch that. Oh, and also let me know if any of the 3 authors I talked about are kind of in this category for you. Like, let me know if you agree with any of my choices. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!